Hi there. Hey, we're going to set up your 16 rectangle pre-sketch for your final. What you're going to do is find one of these pieces of paper, very much like this, over by the light boxes. It has these marks around the perimeter and at the corners, and it tells you what to do right there. You're going to trace those marks on a fresh piece of paper. Make sure it's the 9 by 12 paper you get from us. I'm just going to put that on the light box. Just trace the marks. Then go back to your table with a ruler, excuse me, and like I've started to do, you're just going to connect all of those marks. So you will wind up with a 1/4 of an inch border and these 16 rectangles, except I just haven't done this one right here. Remember that tip when you're connecting all these marks, to put your pencil firmly right there on the top one, and then tap your ruler against it and just find the other one. It's just off screen here, but I'm looking down here and make that mark all the way to there, and we have our 16 rectangle drawing. Okay, just the basics of it. There's 3 more things we have to do to our pre-sketch before we trace it onto your final paper. First thing is we're going to make a pathway. We're going to have two lines that create kind of a pathway curve that's going to break up all of these geometric lines and shapes, and we're going to make something that's organic. What you want to do is just kind of go for it, and the next line should not be parallel to this, and it should not cross, so you don't want to cross. And you don't want it to be super close. You want to give yourself some room to do something in there. So here I'm going to let it get a little bit closer here, and then let it farther away down here. So there's a little variety to that line, or to that pathway, we'll call it. Then we're going to get a piece of masking tape, or a roll of masking tape, and it can really go anywhere you want to, except you don't want it to go off the edge. I want to see the entire circle that we trace, and you can use the outside or the inside of this circle. It doesn't matter. I'll put mine like right there. It doesn't really matter where it is. Okay, that's done. Now all of these lines that I just made will continue to intersect each other. There's going to be one thing that we do, and it's called the image that floats on top. And it can go literally anywhere. Again, let's see the whole thing. It does not go inside the circle. You'll see that's just another place to change up the textures that we use. So I'm going to put it right down here. And for our purposes, just to make it really simple, and I'll show you a couple samples that I have an idea about, but just so it's really simple for the for this little video, I'm just going to make a simple little daisy kind of flower. And it can be this simple for you if you want. Just so it's very clear. This is going to float on top. It's going to kind of appear so, because what you will have to do is erase the lines, the ones we just did. We're going to erase those lines so it will appear kind of that this is on top of all those lines. Another thing I'm going to want you to do is erase a little extra and create a border. Okay, so watch this. And this border is kind of skinny. This might be a little thinner than the thickness of a pencil. And let's just go all the way around it. And you can do this a little skinnier than I am. You can do this, you can do a double border or a double outline. Show you a little sample here. A couple different ways to think about it. Just pretend I went all the way around. You can do a double border. So you have a couple of different colors or values here. You can let your border be wavy. You can let your border have like little spikes to it, like little sun rays. You can do little things like that. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so that's all up to you. This is your pre-sketch. Now, I want to tell you a couple things to think about as you try to find your image, and we'll talk about it in class. There's a couple of search items, Google searches you can do. I have a little page of samples here. And if you look up clip art, let's say you want to make a pig, clip art pig or cartoon pig, I looked up a logo pig and found this one. It could be an illustration of a pig. It's something that's going to be not a realistic kind of drawing that we're going to do later. And what you did in your portrait drawing, you tried to make it very realistic. I also did a Sacramento Kings logo, and I just looked on my phone and I just drew these off from my phone. I did not trace them, but I just drew whole to parts. Okay, if you're on your computer, on your laptop, you can get it to the right size and put a piece of tracing paper over it and trace it lightly. That's totally fine. Remember, and all these are at least the size of the palm of my hand. That's the idea of the size. Okay, so there's that one. There's that cute little pig that I found on my phone, and I just kind of drew it freehand. Again, just drawing circles and simple shapes first. There's the Sacramento Kings logo. I took out the Sacramento and the Kings to simplify it a little bit. And again, it's a good idea to have these on your phone because later, if you want to, you can use colored pencil. So right now you might see that there's two different color pinks in there and kind of a red, and there's no color on here. If you want to use colored pencil in this object or, in your flower, that's totally fine. It just needs to be something that's school appropriate and the right size. And I would suggest that you do something that you are interested in. Kind of might tell a little bit about yourself. And I would not try to do something realistic, like truly photorealistic. I would keep it kind of more graphic, like an illustration. You can also see it that each of these have already built in, before I use it, that little border that goes around, and there's that one there too. So if this were my actual pre-sketch, I would take this to the light box and kind of put it where I wanted it to go, and it can go anywhere, and I would trace that pig right onto my pre-sketch before we put it onto your final paper. All right, that's all there is to that, and there you go. Have fun with it.